Okay, here we are, Matthew Russell Lee, Inner City Press, here at the Southern District of New York Courthouse. Today, Tuesday, December 23rd, 2025. Now, yesterday we covered in great detail the sentencing of Cholo Abdi Abdullah, who joined Al-Shabaab, was sent to Philippines and got a pilot's license and was looking at tall buildings in Atlanta. He was sentenced to life, and at the end of it, he came out right down the street in a black van. I guess he'll be Colorado bound. Now, just now, I'm starting a little later than usual because I'm covering the UN from the outside, banned from the UN. Well, the U.S. speaker, not Mike Waltz, but another ambassador in the UN Security Council meeting about Somalia, that's why I was covering it. It's about Al-Shabaab sanctions, actually. Said the U.S. has spent $2 billion on it with very little impact. And he criticized his council member colleagues, some, for trying to interject gender language into the resolution. Take it as you will. Our question is what the U.S. mission and Mr. Mike Waltz have done about UN censorship. We'll come to that again at the end. Now, in EDNY, a setback for some, it's a setback. EDNY Sun, charged with being an agent of the CCP while working for Kathy Hochul, benefited from a mistrial. Apparently, she was very close to being convicted, like 11 out of 12 on one count and 10 out of 12 on others, according to, well, hat tip. We'll do that one in writing. So she'll probably have a retrial, one would assume. In other retrial news, the Pereira Bueno brothers, the crypto bros, while the time between the mistrial and the possible retrial goes on, there's been a amicus brief put in by the DeFi Education Fund. We put it online. You can find it on Inner City Press. In other financial news, Erebor, the bank rubber-stamped by the OCC, Office of the Comptroller of the Currency, even while they had not yet and have not yet responded to Fair Finance Watch's FOIA request, is now valued at $4 billion. Hasn't done a darn thing yet, but there it is. They just keep on rubber-stamping. They wrote to me this morning and said, we're working as fast as we can on the FOIA. Well, not as fast as they worked on the rubber stamp, as they did for Park National. We're not going to stop. We're not stopping. The merger of Burke and Herbert and Link Bank has been commented on by Fair Finance Watch to the Fed. Link Bank is a terrible bank that actually had a CRA condition imposed on it. So we'll see what happens this time around. Let's hit to the UN. Let's get to the UN because they've gone on hiatus. Yesterday, the spokesman, Stefan Dujarric, who's refused to answer any written questions after promising on camera that he would, said that yesterday's was the last briefing of the year. It's totally irresponsible. The budget that Antonio Guterres has complained so much about, the budget cuts, has still not approved. It was actually covering the budget that I was roughed up and thrown out while I was doing it. There were other reasons. So they've gone on hiatus. I guess they don't really care about what they said they cared about. Guterres is gone. He's on, quote, annual leave. You might look for him on the Dalmatian coast. They never say where he goes, unlike other public officials. Even Mike Bloomberg had to say where he went, but not Big Tony. But there's a problem. We're hitting the end of the year, and despite many claims that things were going to be dozed up and cleaned up and held accountable, the UN continues to ban the only media that actually covers it hard. I'll give you an example. We've exposed over the last months that Antonio Guterres' representative in South Sudan, Nicholas Haysom, is never in the country. He may be sick, and I wish him well, but he's not in the country. He's getting paid big dollars. Now, rather than report the obvious, an in-house UN promoting publication ran an interview with Haysom, not saying that he's never been in the country in months, by a journalist from his same based in South Africa, where Haysom is from. So it's basically a propaganda piece to make it look like this is not supporting UN staff. UN staff think it's an outrage that Tony's cronies are making off with all the money, and they're the ones getting cut by, yes, the dozing of the UN. But the dozing has to include freedom of the press. To be continued. Inner City Press.